Drive Alive!
Hello, and thank you for watching this short video. My name is Fatima, and I'm with the Allen County Drive Alive campaign. We're all about helping young drivers stay safe on the road. Here's a trick question for you. Do you know the best way to survive a car crash? Well, the best thing you can do is avoid getting in a crash in the first place. So that's what this short video is all about. One of the things that we don't always think about is that you don't need to be driving to get hurt or killed in a car accident. In fact, 65% of teen passenger deaths occur when another teen is driving. That's a lot. So when you're with your friends, you want to be sure that you take care of each other. If your friend is driving too fast, speak up. If your friend is fiddling with her iPod or distracted by his cell phone, tell them to keep their eyes on the road and their hands on the wheel. And one more thing, in addition to speaking up if your friend isn't driving safely, make sure you are not a distraction yourself. Don't crank up the radio so loud that the driver can't hear an ambulance or a police siren, for example. When you and your friends pile in a car, you are all in it together, and safe driving is up to every person in the car, not just the driver. If you remember that figure that I mentioned earlier, that 65% of teen deaths happen when another teen is at the wheel, you'll want to do what it takes, whether you're driving or just along for the ride.
Drive Alive!
So now that we've talked about what passengers face, let's take a closer look at why all this stuff matters to you. And as you'll see, it definitely does affect you. Every minute in this country, 3 teens are involved in a crash. That adds up to 1.6 million teen car accidents every year. Let me repeat that. 1.6 million teens a year. That means every single minute of every single day, 24/7, 3 teens get in a car accident. Think about that. Add that up and you get 1.6 million. Go ahead. Do the math. It's true. 1.6 million a year. I thought that might get your attention. This isn't something that just happens to other people. With 1.6 million teen accidents a year, you have to really be on your toes out there on the road, so you don't add to that statistic.
Drive Alive!
Okay, so that's a big scary number. So what can you do to avoid being one of the 1.6 million? Well, this sounds so obvious, I'm almost embarrassed to start with it. But of course, wear your seatbelt. That's a no-brainer, right? Of course, every teen driver and passenger wears their seatbelt all the time. They'd be crazy not to. Well, that's what I thought. But it turns out lots of teens don't wear their seatbelts. In fact, young people are far less likely than older drivers to wear seatbelts. I don't know about you, but that really surprises me. In fact, among 16-year-olds who died in car crashes, 6 out of 10 were not wearing their seatbelts. Frankly, I thought we were past this issue, but I was wrong. The fact is, older people are far more likely than teens to use their seatbelts. Maybe that's how they got to live long enough to be called older people, because they're more likely than young drivers to buckle up. Think about that. If you want to be an older person someday, wear your seatbelt. It's such a simple thing to do.
Drive Alive!
Okay, so I was wrong about young drivers and seatbelts. But I do know for sure that a lot of you look at your text messages while you're driving. I know because I see you all do it when I'm driving around. So let's keep it real. We all know it happens, even though it is a really, really bad idea. Now, I know you are too smart to text and drive at the same time, right? So it's all those other young drivers doing it. So here's the thing. If you are not the driver but a passenger in a car with your friend, do you have the guts to speak up if your friend is messing around and texting while driving? Or tell them to put the cell phone down and focus on the traffic? Or what if your friend has a lead foot? You know, always driving way too fast? Do you have what it takes to set them straight? When you are a passenger, you need to stand up for yourself. If the car gets in a wreck, you're in as much danger as everyone else in the car. So don't let a distracted driver put your life on the line just because you're too shy to say something. Say it. Say it loud. If they're really your friend, they'll listen. If they don't, well, get the heck out of the car. I wanted to know how many teens do have the guts to speak up. So I Googled it. About half of teens will speak up, 5 out of 10. Well, that's great. But then I thought to myself, that's not all that great. It means the other half of teen passengers are unwilling to speak up when the driver is doing something dangerous, like texting. So 5 out of every 10 of you watching the video right now have the guts. But you other half? Come on, speak up and tell the driver to stop texting and focus. It's your life on the line too, you know.
Drive alive.
Okay, so we know a lot of young drivers are texting, and now you know that 5 out of 10 are willing to speak up when you are a passenger and tell your driver to knock it off. Smart. Very smart. But here's something that's not so smart. Tailgating. And I don't mean partying in the parking lot before the football game. You know, tailgating. Following right up on the rear end of another driver. I see it all the time, even on the highway, and it drives me nuts. If that car in front of you blows a tire, stops to avoid hitting a deer, or whatever, guess what? You're in big trouble. You have to give yourself plenty of room to stop with complete control of your car. Think to yourself, if that guy in front of me stops right this second, could I avoid smashing into him? The fact is, you need more space than you think you need to stop a car at highway speeds. A lot more. So here's the deal. Let's say you are on the highway at 60 miles per hour. You need at least 120 to 140 feet to stop. Okay, so what does that mean? How do you measure whether you are 120 to 140 feet behind the other driver while you are traveling at 60 miles per hour? And how do you factor in additional time for your reaction and your decision to hit the brakes? Not to mention that larger vehicles need more time, and wet pavement or ice obviously require more time and distance. Well, you won't have time to whip out your calculator, that's for sure. Under the best conditions, you need a lot more space than you think in order to avoid a wreck. So knowing that the stopping distance at 60 miles per hour would be 120 to 140 feet, plus reaction time, plus weather conditions, well, that's all a bit complex when you're in a panic trying to avoid getting killed on the highway. Here's how I determine a safe distance under any conditions, at any speed. My mom taught me this, and it is the smartest single rule of driving that I have ever heard. She said, always make sure your car is under your complete control so that you can stop or make any other adjustments under the conditions you find yourself in. Mom is pretty smart. It really is simple when you boil it down. Am I in complete control of this car without any doubt? Can I control my car even if the people around me or ahead of me are doing something crazy like stopping with no warning? So now that I have shared Fatima's mom's rule of the road, I hope you'll hear a voice saying, do I have this car under my complete control right now?
Drive alive.
Okay, we've covered a lot of good stuff. Stay with me for another minute and we'll finish strong. Of course you don't drive drunk. That's for fools. And you're no fool. But I have something that may surprise you. In terms of driving skills, just being sleepy can be as bad for your driving as if you were drunk. So let's talk about sleep. Do you get enough? Really? All the time? I know I don't. Work, school, family, fun. Who's got time to sleep, right? Well, we all need our sleep. Here's why it matters when you're behind the wheel. Being awake for 18 hours has a similar effect on your driving as having a blood alcohol content of 0.08, which is legally drunk. So let's say you got up early on a Friday morning for band practice, or because you didn't get your homework done, or just because you got up to go to the bathroom and couldn't get back to sleep. Hey, stuff happens, right? Let's say you got up at 6 a.m. You go to school, maybe you work or do stuff after school, you eat dinner, you check your Facebook page and find out about a party. Sweet! Off you go. You're at your friend's house having a good time, the music is thumping, and all of a sudden, it's midnight. Time to head home. Remember, you got up at 6 a.m. That means you've been up for 18 hours. And this is pretty typical, isn't it? Sure it is. I don't just make this stuff up, you know. Remember what I said before. Being awake for 18 hours has a similar effect on your driving as having a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08, which is legally drunk. And you didn't touch a drop of alcohol. But after being awake for 18 hours, you're sleepy. That is, if you're a human being. You are a human being, aren't you? Then yes, that means you. After 18 hours, you will be so sleepy that you will be driving much like someone who is legally drunk. So while all of us are too smart to be drunk drivers, we need to make sure we are aware of the sleepy effect, so we don't drive just like a drunk driver, because either one can get you in a bad wreck. So be sure to catch a nap, head home early, or just stay at your friend's house if you've been up for that long.
Drive alive.
Well, that's it for today. My name is Fatima for the Allen County Drive Alive campaign, and I hope you've picked up a few good tips on how to stay safe on the road, and most importantly, drive alive.
Drive alive.